Sega Genesis Mini 2 featured games.
Yo, what's up? What's up? Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fifth season of Timeless Gamer, where the games and gamers grow older, while the gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. Your gaming podcast show brought to you by the beautiful people of Pinoy Retro Gaming. And we are live now in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch for all of our archive videos of our previous shows. You can check out our YouTube channel, Timeless Gamer PRG. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts by searching in Timeless Gamer. And this is a wonderful episode for tonight, folks. We have a very good episode for you guys, and the topic for tonight is the world of minis, and that's brought to you by Survey Pinoy Retrofit, which is here with us, joining us for tonight, Ray. What's up? What's up?
What's up, guys? Magandang gabi, good evening, and good morning. And in any parts of the world, magandang gabi and good morning. Hope you're going to enjoy the topic for tonight's podcast and today's podcast. So sit back, relax, and drool. And
All right. Thank you for that survey. And of course, Miss Honoka99, Miss Charlene. What's up? What's up?
Yo, yo, what's up, guys? Good morning, good evening around the world. Honoka 99 here. We are actually live in Timeless Gaming. I hope you guys will enjoy this wonderful podcast here this wonderful stream for mini consoles.
All right, thank you for that, Miss Charlene. And joining us from the UK, Sir Dan the Man.
Good morning, good afternoon, buongiorno. Hello, everybody. Welcome all, and hope you enjoy this little episode.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Dan. And it's only four of us at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. But don't you worry. Timeless Gamer will continue with its show depending on how many panels that you got. We got you covered. We got it all for you guys. And I will give it now to Sir Ray to take the helm in regarding with our particular episode today, which is the world of minis. And it's been 5 years since Nintendo brought up the first mini console, which is the NES and
And yes, all right.
the NES Mini and the Famicom Mini. And if anything, it was just an anniversary bonus for all of the old school gamers and new. And they didn't really realize how the demand for a mini console would get. And with the success of the initial release of those, more mini consoles were released by other big gaming companies like Sega, Neo
Mm.
Geo, and Sony. They all thrown in the hat to cash in with their own mini consoles, and that's the topic that we're going to talk about for this evening. So I'll give it now to Sir Ray. So we'll to drive home this topic for
All
tonight.
right,
Sir Ray,
guys.
all
So
yours.
basically, all of you guys know that Sega Mini Drive was released just last October 27. So I decided, maybe just maybe we'll get some topics for those minis, retro consoles that been released or been produced by some companies like Nintendo, Sega, and PlayStation that um that relieve what do you call this um reproduce some retro console. So by this time, wait with the release of Sega Mega Drive 2, Sir Dan, I know that you're the first in the Timeless Gamers crew. You're the first one to have it. Yes, can you show us, guy? Can you show us
The Mega
your
Drive
Sega
Mini
Mega
2.
Drive 2?
I'm just going to say hello to Viraj, who's joined us in the chat. He knows a lot about minis. He's a bit of a master. He is. So here is the Mini 2. Look how
Yeah,
tiny it is. Look how little it is. Oh, little
uh,
Mini.
it's quite small for it's really small actually. Man, man. And can I look at the box, Sir Dan? Where's the
I have the
box?
box. I have the box right here, sir. And again, that's tiny. Look at that.
Look at the
I know it
box.
look like I've got a fat head, but my head's not that fat. And these are tiny next to them.
All right. So by that, let's look for the games that is released. Excuse me,
For the Mega
um,
Drive.
the Mega Drive, or the games that it was we call that kasama or part of the Sega Mega Drive 2. So let's
So you got 57 games on there.
yeah.
No, you've got 60. Sorry, 60. What am I saying? I'm looking at Peace Engine notes. 60 games on your Mega Drive Mini 2, and then you've got 7 bonus titles as well, and 12 of the games are CD games. And as Viraj says, Sega are the king of minis.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the Japanese release, right, guys? So it has 50 what? Around 50 games.
Say again, mate.
In the Japanese release, how many games are
There'll be
in?
slightly more on the Japanese release. So there's 60 on the one I've got. So there'll be a few more in addition to that on the Japanese one.
All right. So, as you can see in the screen, that's the games that in the Japanese version or the Japanese release. Yeah.
There are a lot of anime-ish titles here.
Oh,
Why?
Yeah, I mean, the main
wow.
difference between the Western and the Japanese release
Mm.
are the Lunar games. They're the big ones that a lot of people wanted, and I know Sir Joe went. So that's where a lot of people were a bit disappointed. Not myself, because I like the Lunar games, but I'm not that bothered. I think
I'm
the mini.
disappointed.
Yeah, mate, you're an RPG man, aren't you? So yeah, Viraj has got it spot on there. Viraj has just left a comment. What did he say? Western version has 12 Sega CD titles, and the Japanese version has 20.
Oh,
So
see, they had 20.
yeah.
That's a damn shame. That's a goddamn shame.
Yeah. As a Sega fanatic, Sir
Ah,
Dan, what's your
Yes,
reaction about the games that been added to the Sega Mini Drive 2?
absolutely fucking brilliant. Absolutely, you could not. The Mini One, to me, the Mega Drive Mini One
Mm.
is a great introduction to Sega. It is if you're just a casual gamer and you're wanting to learn about Sega and get into Sega, the Mini One is probably the better one. The Mini Two is for people like me. It is a hardcore Sega fans console, and the games on it are fantastic. Absolutely, I'm not being funny, mate. I think out of the 60 games on there must only be three or four that aren't particularly good games. It's got a really nice wide variety of genres. You know, you got shoot 'em ups, RPGs, beat 'em ups. You know, what I mean, it's a phenomenal lineup, and I'd say if anybody wanted to get a true flavour of 80s and 90s Sega, the Mini 2 is a great place to start. It's like I say, it's an hardcore gamers mini, so you're gonna have to you're gonna get your ass kicked on some of these games a bit, but if you keep persisting, the quality is absolutely phenomenal.
How about you, Sergio? As a collector, would you rather, if you're going to buy this game, buy this console, would you buy this?
okay. So disclaimer to our viewers and to our listeners. I have not bought or owned any of the mini consoles released so far, and and I'm I- and and I'm just looking at all of the as far as the Mega Drive or the Genesis One and Two are concerned. I'm just trying to rack my brain on why should I even get this, and because I myself have an EverDrive
Yeah, yeah.
for the Sega Genesis, and by
Mm.
using an EverDrive, you can pretty much just add all of the games
Yeah.
that you want in particular, that you want specifically, you want on that mini cartridge. Just put in an SD card and then put it there on your EverDrive, and then you can play it on your actual in your actual Genesis console or your Mega Drive console,
Mm.
and that would be it. And looking at this, with all of the emulation, these are just software emulation for all of the mini consoles that were released. They're just software emulation, and software emulation for the 16-bit era uh, is, I think, 100%. You can pretty much you can buy some cheap knockoff
Mm.
emulation devices out there, and they won't even cost you that much. How much is the Mega Drive One and Two when you guys
Uh,
bought it
I
retail?
bought what the minis you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How much is how much is there?
I got mine for just over £100.
100
100
in
pounds.
pounds.
Hmm.
Mm.
Survey, how much in peso when you got yours?
Actually, hindi pa siya nire-release dito sa Pinas.
Mega Drive
So,
One, Genesis One.
sa Genesis 1, teka, wait.
I'm
Tignan ko lang.
guessing more than five
Around
thousand
4,
pesos.
4,000. 4,000.
No, so at least 4,000 pesos. See,
Yeah, 4,000.
So
and
to answer your question, then, Joe, and Viraj has mentioned it here, is that the minis are basically more suited for HD TVs. So
no, I
that's
mean I get that. With all of the with all of the mini consoles that were released, they can only output up to 720p.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm
Mhm.
wrong. All of them can go up to 720p. With the current emulation devices we have, even RetroArch can even push it up to 1080p if we wanted. Same with the other emulation devices out there.
yeah.
So why
So
are these so special? Oh yeah, of
well,
course we're
this
just gonna buy it for the
ju-
sake of
just
brand
looking,
recognition. I get that.
yeah, we're just looking at the Mini 2. You've got several games on there that are exclusives and that are
Yeah.
modified. So even so, if you emulate the originals, for example, you've got the Space Area games that have been tweaked. They're now run at a much faster speed. And I'm not being funny, mate. I've been playing Space Area 2 for 30 years, and I plugged in the Mini and played the new version of Space Area 2, and it blew my head off. I couldn't believe how I like flipping out. This is like, oof, it's
The
super.
reviews of Space Harrier 2 for the Mega Drive Mini, they said it's almost as identical as the arcade one.
Well, there weren't arcade Space Area 2. They were just a Space Area. Space Area 2 were a Genesis exclusive.
Right.
But they've upped it to that level. But they all, there's stuff like like I said, they've tweaked the frame rate and the speed of the game, so it's way better now. And they've also added stuff like, I mean, you've got exclusive games on there anyway, but you've also got stuff like Phantasy Star 2's got an easy mode, and Phantasy Star 2's obviously a fantastic RPG story wise when you get into it, but a lot of people bounce off it because it's quite tough. So they've obviously tailored this mini with newcomers in mind. I mean, my one of my biggest draws to it now that Viraj put me onto is the Cyber Stick. I've always,
There you go.
Afterburner 2 is my favorite arcade game of all time. It's phenomenal. I went to an arcade a few weeks back. I played it again, and you cannot not buzz off Afterburner 2. It's fucking electric. You know what I mean? So for me to have the opportunity now to get a Cyber Stick and play Afterburner 2 analog at home with the same control setup as in an arcade, I can't do that anywhere else. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is quite a lot of stuff there to warrant buying it, really.
For
Right.
Sega Genesis for hardcore Sega Genesis Mega
Fans.
Drive fans, and I can see the need to get these
This
the one
one.
and two as far as
Right.
either for collection for a
Well,
collection
let me
standpoint
just,
or
let me
for us
just
to play
interrupt
it
you, mate.
player standpoint.
Are you a hardcore JRPG fan?
I want to
Yes.
consider myself as an enthusiast. Yes.
Yes.
You're a
And
hardcore fan, Joe.
I
have you
mean,
finished Phantasy Star
if
2?
I'm going,
You're a hardcore
if I'm going,
fan.
I'm going to get a Sega Genesis, and I mentioned it to Sir Dan before. If Sega Genesis Mini 2 at least added Lunar 1 and 2, the Western release, the localized release, I would have bought it right then and there. Sure, why
Mm.
not? But no, it's only for Japan. And I'm like, why? Well, I mean, w- so I'm guessing, like Viraj mentioned and Sir Dan mentioned before, maybe it's just the licensing, working designs, maybe catered more on the Japanese market compared to the US release. But I'm just saying, yeah, sure. I mean, if it's not enough to add Shining Force, Shining Darkness, and Fantasy Star, why not even include why not include Lunar in there as well? I mean,
Well, they have if you can speak Japanese.
that's yeah. I mean, if I
You
speak
just got to learn
Japanese,
Japanese, mate. That's all.
I mean, as much as I like Fantasy Star
Mm.
and the Shining series, putting another JRPG franchise in there won't hurt.
But as a collector, Sergio, would you buy this? Yes or
I would
no?
uh, I would buy it. Yes, I would buy it.
Okay.
Yes, sure. If I have the money, sure. I mean,
You have
I
the
have the
money.
money. Sure.
You have the
If
money.
I have the money, sure. But but I'm still trying. I'm still trying to convince myself
All right.
on how urgent do I need this in
The,
my life right now.
right. That's
You know what I
that,
mean?
actually that's a good point. That's a good point. How about you, Honoka, the baby gamer of RPG PRG? With the list of the games that and the Sega Genesis Mini Drive.
I would say
As you
yes.
can do. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go.
I would say yes. Oh yeah, sorry. So I would say yes for the Sega Genesis Mini, because since I've been a huge fan with Sega for a long time, so I would definitely buy that game so much, and I would really love that. I will actually put it also one of my collections as well, part of Sega, since I like playing games like Sonic the Hedgehog, Earthworm Jim, Fantasy Star, Altered Beast, and a whole lot more games though. I would really recommend buying that game on that consoles.
So
Plus,
you're
I
don't
going
mean,
to
forget
buy it.
you've got Street
let's
Fighter on
take
there.
away the.
Street Fighter,
I'm sorry for
really?
that. Yes. Go.
Yeah, you've got Street
Is
Fighter
there
on
a
there.
Street
So
Fighter on Sega?
yeah, we've got Super Street Fighter. So you can kick your husband's butt on that, like I saw you kick his butt the other day on it.
I'll definitely do that one. Sega
Yeah.
Street Fighter.
So right now in the screen, one streamer are reviewing the Sega Mini Drive. So there's the game for the American and European version. So basically, you can see the title and the catalog of the some games. Yeah. You got Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic CD, and Shinobi. And,
I mean, look at
Maybe I
that
would
line.
play. I would play Night Trap first
yeah,
on the mini.
actually, me, if I'm
I
going
would
to
play
get
Night
this
Trap
one,
only because, and I'm like, okay, so if I'm gonna play Night Trap, I can get this from Pornhub for free.
what the heck? What the heck?
What I would say is that I can only speak from personal experience, but I've sometimes had problems emulating the CD games when I've
Mm.
done it on PC, and I've not had any problems with this. So again, that's another reason to consider it. If games like Night Trap take your fancy, they run solid on this.
All right. So thank you guys for those um insights of the Sega Mini Drive 2. Now let's go now to our main topic, and it's for the world of mini. So first question is,
Dun, dun,
and for those
dun.
guys in the chat, wait, um, man, who among you guys have played or have one mini consoles? Dan has
Uh,
one. So
I've
Dan
got the two.
basically played. You got two. Ano ka? You have what?
one, just
You have
one.
one.
Let's see,
Uh,
Yeah,
Honoka
just
beat me
one.
by one,
you got
and Sir Joel has
one.
five.
Five.
Sir
So
Joel has five, guys. Me nada, no zero. Zero.
Ooh.
Dan,
you sh-
what mini consoles does you have? That the you have
Sorry, say
what
again, mate.
Aside
what
from the
mini
Sega,
consoles the
you have
have
Sir Dan.
you have?
What other? So I didn't catch what
How
you
many
said.
consoles do you have, Sir Dan, aside from the
Do you
Sega?
have?
How many? Sorry, the other one, the PC Engine, PC
Yeah,
Engine Mini.
a PC Engine. Can
Yes.
you?
Yes,
Yeah,
the PC Engine Mini.
Oh, the PC engine.
yeah,
It's
turbo
Nice.
graph.
considerably bigger. So
Nice.
Nice one.
this, I'll be honest, I've been wanting one for quite a while, and a few things prompted me to get one this past few weeks. Viraj doing a little bit of flexing. He's got 10.
Yes, 10.
Humble
Yeah,
flexing.
he's the mini master.
Humble
Mini
flexing.
master.
Humble flexing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Humble flexing from Viraj. Good for you, Viraj.
but yeah,
Which
the PC
Viraj?
Engine one is the PC
Whoa.
Engine I've literally just got it this week, and it's. I'm actually a little bit disappointed in it. I'll be honest. I think it's good, but it's there's a lot of duplicate games on there, which I was surprised about, and the only games that I really I'm enjoying are the shoot 'em ups on it, and the PC Engine is a shoot 'em up system. If you're into shoot 'em ups or you want to get into shoot 'em ups, then you want to get a Mega Drive and a PC Engine alike, and the PC Engine. This mini has got some great shoot 'em ups on there. There's a lot of it's got a lot of good games on, but there's a lot of role play games on there that are all in Japanese, and it's got Snatcher on there, but that's in Japanese. So that's a bit of a kicker, unfortunately.
So aside from PC Engine, you have the Sega Mini Drive too, right?
Yes. So they're the two.
All right. How about Honoka? Do you have what console do you have?
Well, I do have is the Famicom Mini.
Show it.
Can you see
Show
it?
it.
I actually it's in the box right now, so I can't be able to get it.
So what can
Yeah,
you tell
but I
us?
actually-
What can you tell us about your
was like
experience
fun.
with the NES Mini?
The NES Mini, that was really awesome though. I was able to play Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Ice Climbers, Kung Fu, Gradius, what else? The Legends of the Adventures of Link, also Final Fantasy 3. That's usually the ones I play, and also Dr. Mario. I really love it very much.
That's my wife's best game, Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario.
Mario.
That's the only game she's
Yeah,
any good on.
Yeah, I've been trying to actually master that one a couple of times now, and I still can't master it. Still need more practice.
So
How about you, Ray?
huh?
How about you,
Yeah,
Ray?
I think I got 5.
Whoa,
I
5.
got
Ahem.
5. Ahem. So first I got SNES, Sega Genesis,
Yeah.
Genesis, yes.
and then I got the NES Entertainment System.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes, master.
Um, I got the Super Famicom.
Famicom,
Eh,
Super Famicom.
Ooh, Super Famicom.
And the PS1 Classic, the
Of
Japanese
course.
version.
Of
Yeah.
course, that's the one.
Actually, it's 5, but the Neo Geo Mini is nasa Amerika pa. Wala
Oh,
pa sa akin, wala pa sa kamay ko. Wala
it's
pa.
not been delivered
So,
yet.
nasa
Hasn't been
Tito
delivered.
Jomar.
Your Neo Geo hasn't been delivered yet.
Yeah.
It will be
Kasi
coming from
Neo
Sir
Geo.
Jomar, I think.
kay Tito Jomar. Yeah. Kay Tito Jomar.
Right.
Jomar. So,
In
may second
regarding
question
with
here. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead, Sir Jom.
in regarding with the systems that people have been showing here, as far as the PC Engine is concerned, correct me if I'm wrong, Sir Dan. So 720p, it outputs 720p, and there are some hidden games there as well. If you press select a few times, there are some hidden games that will show up that's not included in the main list. But I'm not. I think it's just on the TurboGrafx though. But I'm not sure with the PC Engine version. In the TurboGrafx, if you can change it on the settings that you can play some of the games in Japanese, and some will and there are some games that will play in US in US versions as well. I'm not sure if the PC Engine itself can do that. Like it can switch it from Japanese to English.
No, you can't on those games. You're right about everything else you said, and the PC Engine. Basically, when you go to the menu screen, there's the PC Engine library, and then there's a little toggle in the corner, which is way too small for my liking. When I first put it on, I couldn't find it, and I had to read the instructions to get it out. I thought it was a bit stupid, but if you toggle that, it goes to your TG16 CD games. But the TG16 CD games that are there, a lot of the role play games as well are in Japanese. So, to me, there's no good really for about 5 or 6
And And I'm not sure if the PC Engine does this as well, because with the TurboGrafx 16, if you choose a Sega CD game, there's this little animation that uh, the CD will be inserted in a virtual drive, and then you'll hear a sound
Yeah.
effect of the CD spinning. I'm not sure if the PC Engine has that function as well.
You see it stick a card in. You see it stick the card in, and then it moves on to the next screen.
Right. And going now to as Sir Dan mentioned, it's lots of shooters, but there are other games out. There are other games there as well, but the
Yes.
majority is just are just shooters. So for every shooter fans out there, the NEC PC Engine TurboGrafx most likely will be up your alley. But there are other games there, and a variety of other games there that every gamer can enjoy as well.
The other high,
With
sorry, the other highlight is Rondo of Blood, the
the Rondo
Castlevania.
of Blood,
Yeah, so
Castlevania.
that's a good one, and Bonks on there as well. A lot of which is essentially PC Engine's version of Mario. So they're the other two highlights.
And the original is game, I think, can be found on the PC Engine as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And as far as the NES, the Famicom Mini goes, as far as I know, it still outputs at 720p. Unfortunately, the good about the NES, because Nintendo and Sega, they have a lot of first party games. They never there are a lot of first party games, so of course you'll see a lot of first party games that all of us grew up with, and among other third party games out there. But most definitely they have a lot of library for the first party games that they have ever released for the NES. If there's any bad that I can probably tell with the NES and the Super Famicom, with the NES Classic, as far as I know, the cord is less than 1 meter, so it's kind of short. So you really need a long HDMI cable so you can reach it.
Let's
Um,
check if it's
and aesthetic wise, you cannot really open the cartridge door. I mean, it would be nice if you could.
yeah.
With the Famicom Mini, as far as I can tell, they were able to release it like the cords are actually attached at the back of the console, like the original.
Mm, yeah.
And of course, NES have its own library, and the Famicom has its own library as well. I mean, they've only have a few games in common, like most likely Zelda and Mario. Most likely will be the games in there for either systems. That's as much as far as I can tell.
All right. So, if given a chance, to you guys, what mini would you love to experience to play with? If
I
given a
would
chance.
I would experience the PlayStation Mini because I haven't played the PlayStation in a long time now, so I would definitely get the mini version back here. I would like to play Final Fantasy. At the first, actually, to be honest, I haven't played Final Fantasy 7, the first version. So all I played is the remake version though. I really love to experience that so much.
Mm. How about you, Sir Dan? What mini you want to experience?
I've got mine. I've got mine. The Mini Two. The Mini Two's just perfect for me.
Mini
Honestly,
Drive 2.
Mm.
it's got everything. If I had to pick another one, it probably PlayStation One really. Just to touch on some old games that I've not played for a while. My PlayStation died quite a while back, so I've still got it as an ornament. But I'd be interested to go back and play a few bits like Metal Gear Solid and that. So yeah.
Yeah. So how about you, Sir Dan? Sir Joe?
As an RPG player, I would probably lean on the SNES.
SN.
It has Final Fantasy 6/3. It has Super Mario RPG. It has Earthbound. for the worth of money, for the worth of money, you're gonna have to pay if you want to get those games. Then might as well get the SNES mini. If I'm going to play RPGs, I would probably go with the SNES, and then if I can't get one, I would probably go with. But
What?
too bad Lunar is not in there.
What is it?
I would probably get the Mega Drive one only because it has Fantasy Star 4.
Hmm.
If you play
Don't
4,
forget, mate. Don't forget
Not
that
is it
bad.
4?
the Mini 2 has Crusader of Senti, and that
Oh
that
shit.
fetch, that fetches some real dollar. That does as well. That's
Which one has the shining? Which one has the shining game that kind of looks like Fire Emblem
Shining Force.
on the
Um,
move?
Well, Shining
Shine
Force
Force?
2,
Shine Force?
Shining Force CD, and a different series, War Song, are all on your Mini 2. And they're all
All right,
like Fire
I'll get the
Emblem.
Mini 2 then. I'll get the Mini 2.
Ooh.
I'll get the Mini 2. If I can't get the SNES, I'll get the Mini 2. There you go.
All right. So right
So,
now on your screens, this is Metal Jesus, reviewing some retro consoles, mini retro consoles that, and right now this is the Commodore 64. And if you're familiar with those 80s people, 80s retro,
Yeah,
80s
Sir Joel will
gamers,
know that.
and this is the console that 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 use keyboards for playing and some joysticks. Yeah.
You know what's weird about the C64? Yeah, it has 64 games, but it comes out looking like a keyboard, but the actual keyboard doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you have to enable the virtual keyboard, which is so awkward to use because most of the games in the C64 uses the actual keyboard, and not to
Yeah.
mention the joystick is really flimsy. Like I'm not sure. I cannot really describe it, but once you touch it, it feels like it's gonna break sooner or later if you keep on playing with it for too long. And although with the 64 games, there are a lot of there most of the games that are quite questionable why it should be included in there, but the developers released a firmware update which you can update the games yourself. You really don't have to legally hack it. So if you think that the original lineup for the C64 is not to your taste, you can get them somewhere else and then put it in there.
All right.
I think it's just
Thing about the
Mirage has just
64.
commented on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
I would say that
Viraj
most of the
Katwadi.
games have the copy.
yeah. Viraj just said I have both C64 and C64 Maxi systems. You can actually put a wired keyboard to work in C64 Mini. So there you go, mate. And he
So
agrees with
C64
that.
University was a damn disgrace.
Yeah.
Sure, they made a better one after, but it's a cop out to pay £20 for a joystick for it. That's a garage right there with the commenting on the C64.
I would love to have a Commodore 64 just
Yeah,
for for just for collection,
yeah.
For
but not
collection purpose.
for collection
Not to
purposes.
play. Not to play.
Yeah.
What?
So,
If you can find them cheap, sure.
I just going to display it, not play with
Not
it.
to, not to
You
play
don't want to
with it.
play it? You should play it.
I'm,
It's
I'm not
fun.
I'm not going to play it. I'm just
Or
going to
stream it.
display it.
Oh.
You can
I'm not sure if they released an alternative joystick for the C64. I think they have, but I'm not sure. Oh, on the video right there for all of you listeners. So we're showing a video of the Sega Tower of Power,
Oh.
which was released by Sega, and just for cosmetic purposes.
It's just
Unfortunately,
for example right now.
those don't work.
Yeah.
I've got
Isn't
Cosmetic
that
About
purposes. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Sir
I
Dan might
mean,
know
example,
more
this is
about
like
this.
a Genesis Mini.
well, I said I've got one for the Mini 2. I've got it over there in the corner, but I've not opened it yet because I've not had time. So I've not had a chance to play about with it yet.
All right.
So
My
it
follow up.
just so
Right.
it doesn't do anything. I
It's just a
mean,
Yeah, it
not
cosmetic
doesn't
thing,
do.
even
mate.
It's
Yeah.
just for
cosmetic
cosmetics
purposes.
purposes. Yeah, it's
It's
like
just only
you-
so it's just only
you're
the
just going to
display.
buy the mini, then the accessories on it, and that's it.
So how much does it cost then
It was
for the
40
whole set?
quid. 40 quid.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite a bit, but
Wow.
it's just for display purposes. I'm leaving it boxed up until I get all my room sorted out upstairs, and I can sort all that out. You see.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good
Vera,
for Sir Viraj there for
Aquad,
having his own tower of
Wow.
power.
it's a
That's the
lovely
dream.
display case I have in my cabinet.
That's the dream for all Sega fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question right now, for you guys, what's the
Mm.
difference aside of the size? Do you still prefer the original one or the mini one? The ones that you have or you tried the console wise. For example, Dan, which do you prefer the original Sega Mini, Sega Mega Drive or the Sega Mini Drive?
What you mean the original hardware?
Yes.
The original hardware.
Which
Yeah,
do you
no,
prefer?
original hardware is always better, mate. Always better.
Mm,
It's I've just moved house, so not all my games, but most of my games are packed away, and some of them now are wearing quite a bit. So I'm going to leave them packed away, and I'm going to be playing on PC emulation and mini emulation until I move again. Because I'm planning on moving in the next few years again. But if you can, original hardware is the best way to play, definitely.
mm. How about you, Honoka? You said you have your Super Famicom. So which do you prefer? The Super
Yes.
Famicom, the original, the original hardware, or this mini?
The original hardware, because it's actually complete than the mini version. Because mini version just only have a few, so I would recommend the original version instead.
But still, the original hardware, you need cartridges, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Unlike for the
Yes, it's a.
minis,
Mm-hmm.
there's always have a built-in game, right?
There's,
Yes.
there's a lot. There's a
Yes.
lot more hassle in there. There's a lot more
Yeah.
hassle to
Yeah.
to run original hardware.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's okay. I can. That's the best thing that I can want to collect some more cartridges for my collection. It would be good for display.
mm. Okay, how about Sergio? If given a chance,
Hardware. Still
hardware.
hardware. It's
Mm.
been it's highly been debated that you cannot really call yourself a hardcore gamer if you haven't experienced an actual hardware console to play with.
Mm-mm.
It's just the feel of it, the experience of it. You'll have it by playing the actual hardware. Yeah, sure, it's pretty bothersome. It's quite tedious, quite expensive to buy and collect, especially with today's market.
Mm-mm.
If you have the living room space to keep all of those cartridges and CDs, sure. And people like Sir Dan, of course, who just recently moved, and that means if every time you move, then that means you have to put all of your games on those boxes, and you have to haul all of them, making
Yeah,
sure that they're pristine and they're still functional, right?
All right,
And
I
right,
got
so
your point.
it's just it has its own caveats, sure,
Yeah.
but hardware still. There are just certain functions that the hardware can still provide you that software emulation cannot really do.
All right. So, as a collector, would you?
If I'm if I have the money, sure, I'll collect them, sure. But then again, it's just sitting. Most likely, if I have all of the minis, it's just gonna collect dust in my cabinet. I mean, who else can I show it to? I mean, who can I brag it to?
Wala
I
ka
mean,
actually,
right?
yes. So right now, guys, Sir Jo, you may clip si Sir Joel. It's a short review kasi isa sa mga kasama ko nangongolekta rin ng mini consoles or he's collecting mini consoles. So Sir Jo, take it away, pakita mo yung konting review ni Sir Jo, ay ni Sir Joel.
All right. So with Sir Joel not being available for today's episode, we asked Sir Joel to come up with his own presentation of his take in regarding with the mini consoles, and so we're just about to show you guys his take about his mini consoles that he have so far in his collection. And here it is, Sir Joel himself.
Today we are going to be doing a discussion on mini consoles, and I'm very happy to say the retro is here all over again. We're very happy that consoles have been coming out and that we are enjoying a renaissance or a comeback of the consoles that we started off with, that we grew up with. So for today, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of the consoles that I have in my possession and what I like about them, and the games that are some of the games that are in them. The mini console that basically started the whole trend off was the NES Classic. So the NES Classic came out in 2016, and a lot of us really grew up with NES games. A lot of them were actually included in this package right here. So games like Donkey Kong, Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, other games like Kirby's Adventure. It had a great selection of games in it, like Pac-Man. Oh, one of my absolute favorites, Punch Out. Except that it didn't have Mike Tyson in it. It had Mr. Dream. So yeah, a little bit of an omission there, a forgivable omission because I'm not sure Nintendo had the license to have Mike Tyson in the collection anymore. So this was the thing. This was the mini console that kicked everything off, and everybody was dying to have it. Nintendo was very scrupulous about its announcement. They said that it was only going to be out for a limited time, and they made good on their word. They made sure that it was out in limited quantities. Everybody was scrambling to go to the GameStops, which is a game store here in the United States. So this one had 30 classic games inside of it. It was a really good value for money. It had amazing games inside of it. Everybody had a great time with it, and it was a very durable little machine too. If you can have a look at that, it didn't have the slot. It was small enough that you couldn't slot in an actual NES cartridge into it. But it's it's a little sacrifice that people were willing to make to play all the classic games that they had when they were growing up. That was quickly followed up when Nintendo realized how big of a deal the NES Classic was. That was quickly followed up by the Super Nintendo Classic Edition right here, which had a banger set of games inside of it too, like Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World. Of particular interest in this collection was a really hard to find RPG, a game called Earthbound. Earthbound was actually included in this collection, and you didn't have to go to unofficial sources anymore for you to be able to play Earthbound. Earthbound specifically had an anti-cheat feature that if you were running an unlicensed copy of Earthbound, it made the enemies really hard to fight. It made the enemies like plentiful, and they would show up. It would make the game very frustrating for the person who was playing the unofficial copy of it. This is an official licensed way to play Earthbound in the form that allowed it to be played or as it originally was. Another game that was inside of this collection that would be of particular interest to RPG players would be Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, another hard to find game. A lot of collectors here in the United States were really, really crazy over that game because it had Mario in turn-based fighting and an RPG format, something that was to the best of my knowledge, had not been attempted before. And this game really, this console had it also. A lot of great games in here like Secret of Mana, Star Fox, Kirby's Dream Course, and it's really a banger list of games. Another solid entry in the console mini console saga. If people are at all interested, it was also one of those things that people had to scramble in different stores to be able to find, to really look for. It's very much worth it. I guess one thing about mini consoles is the value that they present to people as when they buy it. Like, you don't have to look for all of these rare games anymore, because those games were definitely not in production anymore by the time that these mini consoles came out. And this gave gamers a legitimate way for them to be able to play the games that they've been looking for the longest time. But now we come to less not very bright time of the mini console saga. When it came out, I guess when the NES and the SNES Mini came out, Sony decided to throw their hat into the ring in the hopes of being able to compete. Historically, they won the battle. Sony was the one who won the battle, the console war between Nintendo and Sega. Some would say that was a hard fought battle, and then the brand new guy, the usurper, came in, Sony, and won everything, took everything from everybody. Sad to say that didn't happen this time. The PlayStation Classic came out in 2018, from my recollection, and a lot of people were actually very excited because of the announcement of the PlayStation Classic. But the reality when it came out was very different from the anticipation. 20 games came preloaded on it. A lot of them were great, like Metal Gear Solid was there, Final Fantasy VII was there, the Resident Evil Director's Cut was there. Amazing games. But there were some other questionable choices of games that were included in there, like Cool Borders 2. I mean, I'm absolutely sure a lot of people love Cool Borders 2, but not to the same level as Final Fantasy VII. Other games like Ridge Racer Type 4. I know that there are a lot of racing fanatics there, and they certainly would have preferred something like Gran Turismo or Gran Turismo 2 to have been included as a racing game. Sad to say, it was not. They had Ridge Racer Type 4. Battle Arena Toshinden, one of my absolute most favorite fighting games ever. The very first game that I ever played in Green Hills, San Juan, in the PlayStation. When I saw the PlayStation 1 come out, Battle Arena Toshinden was there. I played the heck out of that game. I was so happy to have it here. But I'm absolutely sure some people are thinking, why the heck would a game like this be here? Tekken 3 is also in here, and that is one of the big things. The PlayStation Classic came out with 9 games that were PAL, which came out in 50 kilohertz megahertz frequency, which made it about 17% slower than NTSC games. So if you're a regular gamer, it's not something that you would notice. It's not something that you would feel while you were playing, but fighting game fanatics who are crazy over Tekken 3 would definitely feel the difference. So that's one of the things that really caused people to say, this is not really something that I'm willing to plunk down $99 for. They pretty much let it, molder in the shelves at $99, all the way to the time that it went down in price to $25, $25 a piece, and there were pallets of it sitting around in Best Buy. And later on, when people realized that this is still a very good machine, moddable, lots of play that you can put into it. Heck, you can even put the entirety of the PlayStation 1 library into it. They started snapping it up again. Nowadays in Amazon, I think it's going for almost as high as its initial release at $99 from my last check. I think $80 to $99. The value of it was not realized during its initial release, but people certainly value it now. I think it's a collector's item. People are looking around for it all over again. Sony was actually likely limited themselves because of licensing, because of the fact that they only owned a certain number of IPs that they could put in here, and they were probably also limited by regional restrictions. That's also possibly one of the reasons why they could only put in the PAL games rather than the NTSC versions into their PlayStation Classic. Some of them have a hard time with the idea of people modifying the things that they already own. Nintendo being a very egregious offender in that if they wanted to, if people bought something of theirs and they said that they wanted to add a few more games that they wanted into it, Sony would very much frown on the very concept of the thing that they sold to a person being changed for that person's tastes. And I guess that's the limitation that a lot of people have run into. Not that it's let them stop them, but people do want to improve on the thing that they sometimes have bought already. This came out almost at the exact time that PlayStation 1 Classic came out too. The Neo Geo Mini came out at almost the exact same time that the PlayStation 1 Classic, and almost everybody had the PlayStation 1. Not everybody had the Neo Geo. Everybody looked at the Neo Geo and said, wow, those graphics are arcade quality already. Those are amazing. But looking at the price point back then, that was way too expensive for a lot of people to spend money on. And now, when at the same time that this came head to head with the PlayStation Classic Mini, I think a lot of people decided this is something that I'd want to spend money on. It has a lot of 40 Neo Geo games inside of it, like Metal Slug, Magician Lord, also games like the King of Fighters. My brother is a huge King of Fighters fanatic. If anybody's a fighting game fanatic, this is a great machine to have. It has tons of great fighting games. Last Blade, if I remember correctly, and also Samurai Showdown. Nice thing about this one is that you can use this as a portable gaming machine like that, or you can hook it up to a television and play your Neo Geo games on the big screen as well. The other machines like the NES, SNES, Mini, the PlayStation Classic, they are all dedicated living room machines. So you had to, unless of course you were willing to spend on a mini monitor to bring around with you and a battery pack. But this one had the portability form factor as well as being able to be played on the large screen as well. So this was a very good investment. This was a very good machine to buy. And sad to say, I guess that's one of the reasons why it really killed the PlayStation 1 Classic when it first came out. A really good machine, like a lot of people would say, this is a banger all around. If you can find it, the Neo Geo Mini International. I'm not sure about the 2-player pack anymore, but the Neo Geo Mini International version is still available on Amazon for relatively cheap. From what I remember, it was still going for $60 from last I checked. So it might be a good investment for anybody who's looking around for a Neo Geo mini console right now. About the only criticism that I can levy on them is I just wish, that they would come out with something a lot like their original AES, if I remember, that's what it's called, the actual console itself. But I can't really fault them for doing this, because this is very good for the fact that if you wanted it to bring it along with you wherever you wanted to go, you could. If you were a Neo Geo fan, can't go wrong with the Neo Geo Mini. Last is the Sega Genesis Mini. The Sega Genesis Mini was Sega's entry into the mini console arena, and it had very good selection of games as well. This one had no portability form factor. It was very much a living room console, but it had 40 classic games and 2 bonus titles inside of it. The classic games inside of here are some of my favorites, like Phantasy Star 4. There's also the unusual selections like Echo the Dolphin, Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusion, and some really good selections as well. Like one of my absolute favorites here was the perennial classic Altered Beast. I love Altered Beast. It was one of the first games that I ever played on the Sega Genesis Mini, and really a good choice of games right there. Value for money, really good. I think you're going to have a fun time with any single console mini that you decide to buy. The Sega Genesis Mini is actually capable of running RetroArch. All right, spoilers. No, not spoilers. Caveat for the people: we do not endorse or condone the playing of unlicensed and unofficial software. We are very much supporters of official and licensed software. We're just saying that it is possible for these mini consoles to run unlicensed software as well to suit your tastes. If you own the cartridge and you wanted it to be part of the lineup, you definitely could make it happen. Nintendo is very tight when it comes to the ownership of its machines, to the point that sometimes they even think that the machines that they've already sold to somebody else is still their property. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the way they think, maybe not. I know Sega has been very, very supportive of the modding, not modding, of the expansion, shall we say, community, in the way that even Sonic the Hedgehog has been given unofficial levels by certain modders, and Sega went, "Hey, that is so cool. We're gonna hire you guys to make an official Sega game and as an official Sonic game." Sega is cool that way. Nintendo isn't. The only bad thing about these mini consoles is that they're in such short supply. There's sometimes some of them are so hard to find nowadays. It's going to be a little hard to find some of them. You know, who knows? Maybe the companies would listen to listen to how much us retro gamers love our mini consoles, and maybe they'll produce more. One can only hope. So that is my little presentation of the mini consoles for this episode, and I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.
Parang parehas lang kami ni Tito Joel ng na collection.
Corrections. Yeah.
Parang parehas lang kami. So basically, yeah. Some mini consoles can actually be modded na, and actually can you can put some games on it. You can mod them. You can put ROMs for example, if the specific game that you want on an NES or an SNES doesn't the game is not there, you can actually mod it and put it
And put it in the console.
on your console. So yeah,
That's
as
good.
yeah.
Thank God for hackers.
Thank God for modders. So, yeah, let's say
For mod.
Oh my God.
It's modders, not hackers. It's modders. Okay.
Oh.
So, what can you say about Sir Joel's presentation, Honoka?
I would say that's pretty awesome though. He actually got it presented by the Neo Geo Classic, the PlayStation Classic as well, Genesis Mini. That was pretty awesome though. I would definitely like to get the Neo Geo. I never experienced that before. If I would say that was actually limited, but in other words, it's pretty awesome.
I saw Sir Dan's facial reaction earlier. Genesis does what Nintendo. I, in, I intended to put it in there just to
Oh,
see
Good lad.
what Sir
oh
Dan's
my
initial
God.
reaction would be like. What can you say, Sir Dan?
Genesis does, but Nintendo don't.
But
Exactly.
Nintendo.
Yeah, no, it were a great little presentation, and it touched on quite a few things. I thought it was, I thought it was interesting how he raised the points, like I say, with the modding and the hacking again that Viraj is quite expert at, and the options that people have with it.
And Sir Viraj mentioned he has a very nice presentation of systems. Thank you, Sir Viraj. We'll tell Sir Joel. It's funny that Sir Joel mentioned earlier, especially specifically with the Sony PlayStation Mini, and we can probably talk about more about the Mini. Out of all of the consoles that were released, the PlayStation Classic was the one who really got the flack from most gamers, and I think we can probably talk more shit about this. Uh, how about Sir Ray? You got the PlayStation Classic out of all of us. So, what can you tell
Actually,
us?
yeah. When
PlayStation
the
Classic.
PlayStation Classic was released on 2018, it was really a flop. But suddenly, from 2019 onwards, some modders and some hackers, yeah, let's say hackers or modders na lang, modders, and they come up with the idea of Project Aries and Sync Blim. So what does it do? Um, it's like it's like putting games on your
On the USB.
PS1 Classic, or so that you can play all the libraries. You can put games on your game library of your PlayStation Classic. So right now, the power of the PlayStation 1 is classic was full blown potential. The potential is blown
Will be unlocked.
to
Yeah.
yeah. So that how much is cost right now, Sergio?
Uh,
Sir Joel told us around $100, $100
A
now,
hundred.
100.
Well, when it first released, it was
Mm,
$100 on in retail, and
yeah,
then and because of the decreasing value, uh, pretty much as judgment from critical, underwhelming critically acclaimed from all of the gamers, it went down in price. Best Buy, he said this. He said this to us. There was a time when Best Buy dropped the price down to twenty
from
five dollars a
that's
piece.
yeah, $25
Because
a
they
piece.
were trying to get rid of all of the PS1 classics that nobody would buy,
What
only
would buy?
because of the lackluster library that it
Mm,
presented to the gamers. He
yeah,
did
actually,
mention that for some reason, the North American release 20 games and at least nine, were released for the PAL region, European release. And I'm like, when I first heard of it, and I said to myself, maybe they were trying to cater to the European fans. And I'm
mm,
like, so why not just release a PS1 classic just for the like a PAL region, right? Because if you're going to play the PS1 classic retail day one, and your television clocks out into what 60 megahertz, if you're and then you're going to play with the PAL games, especially with Tekken 3,
mm,
it goes down to 50. So it's more or less 17% slower. So you're going to feel um, the difference of speed if you're going to play it on an NTSC television. So us in the Philippines, and if you're in North America, we play, and we use the NTSC televisions. The European televisions, Sardan, of course, will be
at the same
notable.
time, Sergio, the collection of the games from the European and American version is quite. They have some
But
different games. For
they have differences
example,
too.
different. Yeah, for example, this is the Japanese version. I got the Japanese version, so it has Arc the Land, Alea, Battle Toshiden, Parasite
Hmm.
Eve, Jumping Flash, Pocket Fighter 2, Arc the Land 1 and 2, yan, and Mr. Driller. Some of these games are not available in the American
The
version.
American version.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Um, with Say what you will about Sega and Nintendo, because they have a lot of first party games, and to, most of you guys, to our listeners and viewers, when Sony came out with the PlayStation One, they don't really have any first party games.
Hmm. Yeah.
When they first came out, they wanted to use Nintendo's first party and third party games,
Mm.
and first party, third party companies to make games for the PlayStation One, for the PlayStation in cooperation with Nintendo. But of course, we all know what happened to that story. So PlayStation One, with the PS1 release, they were hoping to get the games from third party, for the third party
Third party
developers, and
producers. Yeah.
the third party producers. And those third party producers really did produce the franchises that we all know and love, that established the PS1 for what it is right now. And because the lacking of the first party games, I think me, Sir Dan, and Sir Joel were talking about this before. Maybe it's just the licensing. They can't really afford getting the games the classic games that truly established the PS1, like your Resident Evil, Castlevania. Final Fantasy 7 is there, sure,
I7 is
but
there.
7 is there as far as the JRPG fans are concerned. But what else? Ridge Racer 4 is there, but not Gran Turismo,
Gran Turismo or Need for Speed.
right?
Yeah.
And for fighting games, you got Tekken 3, which is in PAL region, sure. But
Yeah.
what other fighting games are out there available
Yeah.
as
At the
far
same
as
time,
PS1 is concerned?
Sergio, just like Sir Carlos comment in the comment section, the lack of
Analog.
analog stick.
See, yeah, that's the thing.
Mm.
So if you're going to buy the NES Classic, the PS1 Classic, you're gonna get the original design of the controller. And
Yeah.
some of those games that they released support the analog stick. So
Supported the
why
analog
not just
stick.
release with the one with the analog stick? How about Sir Dan?
Yeah, I mean, mate, I look at the PlayStation Classic, and I think the one that stands out for me is Tomb Raider. Do you know
Tomb
what I mean?
Raider.
Tomb Raider's not even included. Is it even
If you
No,
included?
would
not
say to
included.
if you would say to me, think of a PlayStation game that pops into your head, and the first thing that pops into my head is Lara Croft and a voluptuous figure, and that were the big selling point. So for that not to be on the classic, it doesn't feel like the original games list embodies what the
Right?
PlayStation One was to me, whereas a lot of the other ones we're talking about, such as the Mega Drive Mini 1 and 2, the PC Engine Mini, these embody those classics far more, in my opinion.
How about you, Miss Honoka? PS1 Classic, in terms of the gaming library when it first came out. Thoughts?
My thoughts about that? Not quite sure about that though. But I've
I
never
mean,
heard of not that much of the PlayStation Classic though. But not familiar with some of the games that I've heard. All I just know is different varieties, like Parasite Eve, Final Fantasy, Silent Hill, and a whole lot more. That's all I
you
can
see,
know.
so that's the thing. So most of the games
Hmm.
that listed there, even
Hmm.
Honoka doesn't even know them, and
Yeah.
unless the most popular ones are being included. Most of the games there are not even
Yes.
um, for the casual gamer. You would think you'll
Hmm.
include the hits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
So
greatest
that's the
hits.
thing about PlayStation 1 Classic, and the thing that it kumbaga kasabayan niya, or the one that
Came out with it.
ahead, head to head when they were released, that's the Neo Geo. When Neo Geo Mini was released,
Mm,
the games that been on the console, the main console or the mini console has all of the A-listers of the games of Neo Geo. You got Metal Gear, you got Battle Arena Tosh, you got King of Fighters, and Neo Geo
Samurai
is
Showdown,
Samurai Showdown.
Shoda.
So
Last
basically,
Blade.
as a gamer, what do you want? All the A-list games that will be in your console, right? So I think
Of course,
that's the thing.
that's the main
Why
selling point.
that's the
Yeah.
thing that Neo Geo was ahead on the PS1 Classic. Now, in this case, sabi nga nila, hindi nakita nila yung buong potential ng Classic. So
Yeah,
later on,
Yeah.
may dumating yung mga 8 bido, yung may problema. Like for example, sabi ni Sir Carlo, walang analog stick. Ang joystick ng the joystick of PS1 Classic, and there comes a 8 bido,
the 8-bit though. Mm.
8-bit
Eight
do.
Just
bit
so that you can
though.
have a wireless,
Right.
a
So
wireless
Mm.
wireless,
controller.
and then you can already play your games on your analog stick. And at the
Right?
same time, yung Sync Blim and the Project Aries, that you can put some games on your PS1 Classic. Right?
And with Sir Joel mentioning earlier with the with the Neo Geo Classic, Neo Geo Mini, he did mention that you can plug it in on a HD TV. But if you're going to do that, guys, expect some blurriness. You can't play it on the mini screen that the mini console has. Um, of course, the controls are a little bit awkward because it's way too small for big hands. But if you're going to hook it to a big screen monitor, it clocks out to 720p, and unfortunately, there's no line doubling, there's no smoothing effects. It will only make the video output kind of blurry than it needs to be. So it's a little bit awkward to play, and there's not really much of a portability because you still need to plug it in. There's no internal battery that you can use you can that you can play it anywhere. You still need to plug it in to an external power source. But that's the thing about the uh, with the Neo Geo Mini, and there are a lot of variations released for the Neo Geo
Exactly. Yeah.
Mini. And if you really are the hardcore collector, each variation has a different game library that the other variations don't have. It's like Pokemon.
Yeah.
You don't get the whole Pokemon catalog in there. There are some exclusives that this version will have that the others don't.
Yeah, for example, the Neo Geo Mini has a 12 variations. Just like
12.
Tito Joel uh, told a while ago, there's an international, there's a regular one, and there's some. Yeah, wait, I'm just going to put some, examples of it. So as you can see here, and there are three variations of Samurai Showdown Neo Geo Mini. Uh, so it's already 3 and 5. So what more? So on those mini consoles, right now, you have different set of games that it's not available on that specific console. So if you're a collector, yeah, for Neo Geo Mini, can you use power bank portable play later? So yun, if you're really a fan of Neo Geo, um, yeah, you want to collect all those 12.
Right. So joining us now is Sir Pau. Sir Pau, you saw Sir Joel's presentation about his collection of the mini consoles. What say you? Oh, still muted.
Uh, oh, you did.
Hello, good evening to everyone, and good morning as well to the other parts of the world. So, regarding that presentation by Tito Joel, yes, I was able to watch it. Although, since I was still on my way home while it was happening, certain parts have been unclear to me as if signal problems have occurred. But then the way I understand that presentation he had is that it's a good thing for those mini it's a good thing for the mini consoles, not just the ones that Tito Joel has, but for everyone for everyone who has. It's a good thing to experience the games that we used to play back in our childhood in a much compatible way, in a less bulkier way, that we can actually take that console anywhere we go. Although there will always be part of the part of part of maybe ourselves, maybe for myself, that it is still best to play these games in the original hardware, knowing that these mini consoles li- could have these problems that might occur while you play, or some disadvantages, or things that are lacking how should I say it? Things that these mini consoles lack apart from the original hardware. Like you mentioned earlier regarding the Neo Geo Mini, wherein you may be able to plug it in a
Rotates the monitor. Yeah.
high definition monitor or high definition screen, but since visuals back in the day are not that high definition as well, you have to expect li- blurry lines or some images a high that that high definition monitors cannot cannot picture out in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that the graphical limitations of the original console, especially with the legacy consoles,
Yes.
um, with the specifically with the PlayStation One Classic, there's no smoothing effects. It's roughly with at the time it's really like a jagged polygon era of video graphics from before. And in comparison with the software emulation that we have right now, especially if you're using RetroArch or DockStation, you have the capability to do some smoothing, double lining, making sure that it's not too jagged, it's not too blocky. You know what I mean? Uh, Sony obviously was foaming it in an obvious cash grab. They didn't really put much effort, more thought into releasing the PS1 Classic. Yeah, sure, you can unlock the emulation setup of the PS1 Classic, but it was so very limited on what you can tinker with right there. How about Sir Dan? If it's not a nostalgic factor playing into it, would you even consider buying any of the consoles, the mini consoles that we have?
Yeah, yeah. But I think the benefits in the convenience, mate. So if you want a you've got to think how cheap these things are. Looking at the Mega Drive Mini 2, it doesn't even work out at £2 a game. You know what I mean? So if you just want something to plug in and play that's straightforward, and no hassle, I think it's a great bit of kit. I really do. Do you know what I mean? It's I emulate on my PC, but for me to emulate on my PC, um, I've had to spend hours downloading the emulation software, setting up the emulation software, downloading all the games, setting those up, and then maintaining it. So you're not overwriting various files and whatnot and what have you. Whereas my mini console, I can just pop it in when I want. Buy it, pop it in, boosh. Just pure convenience.
All right, I'll give it now to Survey. Up, Survey muted.
Thank you so much, guys. So my question is, if given the chance to talk to the producers like Sega, Nintendo, and PlayStation, what console would you like to be minimized or reproduced as a retro mini console?
Hmm.
Mm. Kasi right now, Sega is giving some polls for regarding after the release of Sega Mini Drive 2. So if you're a collector or a fan, uh, what console would you love to be minimized? Right.
Let's go with Sir Dan. Sir Dan, what's the next mini for you?
Yeah,
If you can convince them.
if mate. Well, I mean, I think my choice would be between. I'd be torn between the Saturn and the Dreamcast. If
Oh, oh,
if I had to
oh,
pick, if I
Oh
had to
my
pick,
god.
yeah,
Oh my god.
if I had to pick from
oh.
them two, it would be the Saturn probably just again because I like shooters, I like shoot 'em ups, and the Saturn's got some cracking shoot 'em ups on there, and the Saturn hardware is really expensive. It's really hard to get hold of. So if I had to pick, it'd be a Saturn. But I'd love to see a Dreamcast one too. And I think realistically, something me and Viraj have discussed at length over the past few months. I think realistically we'll probably get a Master System Mini next, which I'll be quite happy with anyway.
Oh yeah, how come they didn't release that first?
Well, I think the
Yeah.
Genesis was more popular. The Genesis was more popular and a bigger seller. But now I think that that people's attentions have been reinvigorated a bit with these mini releases. A
That's
Master
true.
System, it will be a nice little bonus to. I think a Master System will be a nice stepping stone and a nice placeholder before we get a Saturn or a Dreamcast Mini. I'm hoping that's the hope.
All right.
All right.
So
Thank
Saturn
you.
for Sir Dan.
That makes sense.
How about you, Hanukkah? If you
For
can
me,
convince them,
I will also.
make a wish. Make a wish foundation right
I would
now.
wish. I would wish that I would get a Saturn or a CD Mini because I really want to get that one. I just hope
Nice.
that they created a Sega CD Mini version. That would be great.
They already have one. The Sega Mini Drive
Is
Mini
there
has said the
That,
Sega Mini,
Mini?
Mini
does that
Drive.
count?
There.
Does
Uh,
that really count?
That's already. That
Does
counts
that count?
already. How about does it? Okay. Wait. How about this one? Since Nintendo already created an NES and SNES Mini, how about if they created a N64 Mini? What do you think? If they create one, what do you think, guys? If they would create an N64 Mini or a GameCube Mini version, since we already has a Mini version already, we already know that. I would just wish that will be my wish come
eh,
true.
the
If they would
question
have
is
one
right now,
soon.
Honoka, is what do you want for Sega
What
or
do you
Nintendo or
wish for?
PlayStation that you want to you want to be minimized? So what's your answer? Is
Minimize?
it Saturn N64 or what?
Saturn. I'll pick Saturn
Saturn.
because
All
I
right.
definitely love Saturn. Best choice for me and Dan.
All right. Good.
Good girl, good girl.
Yeah, for me it's
How about
That's
you,
Saturn
nice.
Sal?
also. Eh. At the
Saturn
same time,
for Hanukkah. And how about you, Sir Ray? Saturn as well?
Saturn din ako eh, actually. But
What games?
Ooh.
uh,
What games? Saturn, go.
Darkstalkers,
Ooh.
saka
Ooh.
and then Virtual Fighter and Viper's Mega Mix. Actually, there's the
Yeah.
Fighters Viper's Mega Mix. The
Wow.
and Battle Arena Toshi din. Yeah.
You just read my mind. I also like that game.
Shining Force 3 on Saturn for you, Joe.
And,
Shining Force 3 for you on Saturn, mate.
Oh.
actually,
How
I'm a
about you, Sir
fighting
Pao?
game fanatic, Dan. So the first fighting games that I played is from the Saturn, and it's Darkstalkers and yeah, Virtual Fighter. So that's it.
Nice.
So if I really want a mini Saturn, a mini console for Sega to reproduce, I think it's Saturn.
Nice.
Okay, 3 votes for Saturn. How about Sir Pao?
Well, I I think I'll be the only different guy here since everyone has experienced Saturn while I haven't. But I did experience the original Dreamcast, so it would be a good thing to have that minimized as well. And let's just say all for the sake of Soul Calibur 1, which
Oh,
is
nice.
wherein it's only released
Oh.
in Dreamcast and arcades, never released in other
Yeah.
consoles.
Yeah. Nice.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, that would be
Not
okay.
even
Yeah,
the PS2?
not even the PS2.
Oh.
Um,
I thought there's a PS2 of
It was
Soul
already
Calibur
Soul
game.
Calibur 2 on the PS2,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
first Soul Calibur was
uh,
only for Dreamcast.
Oh.
okay. All
Right.
right. Now I remember that one.
I would wish for a Saturn as well. If I would go with Dreamcast, I would rather tell them to make a Dreamcast 2. Like just do a Dreamcast 2. Why don't they, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm only going
Ooh.
a a mini Saturn only because if they're going to include the JRPGs that cost like an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Panzer Dragoon Saga, Magic Knight Rayer, Albert Odyssey, all of the shining games for the Saturn, Dark Savior,
Yeah,
and
also,
all of
yeah,
those put together, that will cost you like at least 10,000 US dollars right now.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. My
if
God.
I'm going to if I'm even going to emulate those games, why? And sure, fine. I mean, I can get them. Sure, I can just burn them. I can just burn some games and burn some disc, and then I'll just gonna play it on my Saturn. But if I'm going to choose, sure, I'd rather have them emulated on an official mini Saturn. Fine, if only if those games are included, the very expensive ones are included. So my vote will be for the Saturn as well.
I got a mini Dreamcast right now. Char. Joke.
The unofficial mini Dreamcast.
Unofficial Dreamcast mini. Unofficial. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. So that's it. Um, yeah, it's quite what do you call this? It's quite a lot of consoles that can be, yeah, can be miniaturized. So hopefully
Yeah.
some producers can basically hear us,
Mm.
so that they can, yeah, they can basically put those dreams into reality. So what more,
Although
Sony?
there are some certain third party companies right now who are developing some of their own mini consoles, not really mini consoles, just emulation devices, right? You got your
For
Steam
example,
Deck out of the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your Steam Deck and Sir Ray's
Yeah.
Super Console X. I think is
Yes.
that a Super Console X? The Super Console X. You got your Aya Neo. You got your Odin so far, and the Steam Deck right now is
Mm.
not really readily available for the market, and it kind of costs a little bit expensive if you can even find one. But as far as emulation goes,
Oh.
the emulation for the seventh generation, eighth generation consoles, especially with the Dreamcast, Saturn, and the PS2, they're really graphically challenging games. Again, it's still not there yet. And I remember Sir Joel, um, who is also buying these handheld emulation devices, and I keep saying, how's the PS1, how's the GameCube, how's the Dreamcast, how's the Saturn games play on those devices, and some are a hit and miss. They would either run 30 FPS, some would go 60 FPS, some would go really really slow, and some games are so graphically challenging that it really hits up the actual device. So, like Viraj mentioned, it's quite challenging to emulate all of the 3D the 3D games, especially with the consoles that they were released with. How about you, Sir Dan? In regarding with the other with the current state of emulation right now, because technically speaking, these mini consoles are it's just just running on software emulation anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best is yet to come. To be honest, I think given a bit more time, we'll get minis that nail emulation way better than we're getting now. Like I say, there's a lot of the 3D stuff that I don't bother playing because it just doesn't run well enough for my tastes.
See,
So
that's the thing. It doesn't run as well unless you play it on the hardware.
yeah, exactly. I generally stick to 16-bit gaming and before because of that. Um, if I'm doing it on emulation, because there's I run into too many assholes and annoyances when I'm emulating. From around the 97, 98 period onwards. To be honest, so hopefully Hopefully, we get everybody's wish here, which is a load of Saturns and Dreamcasts and Sega consoles. Because that make me happy.
So we didn't mention Sega earlier. How about if Sony announced that they're planning to do a PlayStation 2 Mini, right?
Yeah,
Technically speaking,
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 games run like what? 4.5 at average 4 gigabytes
Hmm.
of 4 gigabytes a game, give and take. So that
Around
means
that or less.
right, more or less. So that means they will have to release a miniaturized console that has enough internal memory to carry out
Mm-hmm.
how many games minimal. Because on the PlayStation One, it can they can only dish out what 20 games,
Hmm.
which
20
is
only.
abysmal. Considering that we have SD cards that can carry 64 gig, 128 gig, 64, 128, 500, 512. You know what I mean? There are ways around it. So why release such limited games? So if they say that okay, we're going to release the PlayStation 2 Mini, PlayStation 2 Classic, uh, after learning our mistakes with the PlayStation 1 Classic, what games should we include for the PS2?
Oof.
Okay, so,
Wait. I mean,
so
sorry.
let's
I
just
would.
say we're Sony. So let's just say we're Sony right now, right? So let's just
Yeah.
say we're
Yeah.
Sony. We're brainstorming. What games should we include in there? Not to repeat the
Mm,
blunder that we did for the PlayStation 1
Yeah.
Classic. What games should
okay.
we include in there? PS2.
PS2 games. Any PS2 games?
That should be
So
included in the Classic.
Okay.
There are a lot.
You've got to put your big
Okay.
hitters in, ain't you? So my suggestions would be God of War,
Of
Oh, oh
course.
my god.
um,
Oh my god. You got
Of
my
course.
brain.
Grand Theft Auto, 3,
Which
Vice
one?
City, and San Andreas.
How about
Yes.
all three, or
All
just the
three.
or just one or two?
Well, no. To be fair, yeah. If they wanted to milk it for money, I'd put I'd probably put
All right. So we got
that's
God of
San
War
Andreas.
and the GTA trilogy, sure.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Your Final Fantasy. You're going to have a Final Fantasy game in there, aren't you? So I'd
Yeah.
probably go with Final
I'll
Fantasy.
go for the 10th.
How
Ooh.
about 10 or 12?
I'd go 10.
Final Fantasy 10. Okay. So we got 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got 5 games already.
Okay.
Metal Gear
So
Solid
what?
2.
Mm-hmm.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
Devil
Sir
May
Ray?
Cry.
If we're going to make a PS2 classic, we're Sony
Devil
right
May
now.
Cry. Devil May
Devil.
Cry.
Oh yeah, sure. Devil. Oh yeah, okay.
Nice.
Devil May
I
Cry, of course. One, two, three,
How?
or just
Ah,
Okay.
the
How
one, two, three.
about
1, 2, 3.
one, two, oh, Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3. Oh, so we got 8 games already. Okay.
I'll go for
Altered
Tekken
Beast?
Tag Tournament 2.
Nice.
Tekken Tag,
Oh,
sure.
sorry, Tekken Tag Tournament 1.
Okay, so
Oh,
that's
wow.
9 games already. Hanukkah.
Okay. Altered Beast.
Yeah, the
Altered
reboot.
Beast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the
The
reboot.
remake.
Okay, that's
Yeah, the
10.
remake
Okay,
version.
so we got adventure, we got beat 'em ups, we got RPGs already. We got action RPGs, God of War. How about racing?
Grand
Oh,
Theft
Grand
Need
Auto.
for
Theft
Speed.
Auto 3.
Most
Grand Theft
Wanted.
Gran Turismo. Sorry.
both Gran Turismo or Motorsport.
Or Need for Speed.
Need for Speed and Gran Turismo. So we got 11 games already. How about so as far as beat 'em up games, you already got your Altered Beast.
Altered
What
Beast.
other beat 'em ups can we add in there?
Hmm.
Marvel
Charlie's
vs. Capcom.
Angels, that's Virage. Sons of Liberty.
I thought I was gonna say Marvel.
Eileen
Dance
says Star
Revolution.
Ocean 3.
But I.
Dance Revolution, Sergio.
Oh my
Oh yeah,
god.
for Rhythm.
Really? For
Yeah,
PS2?
yeah. That'll be a good idea. How about
DDR.
Yeah, DDR would be good. Beat Mania. I also like Beat Mania there.
Right. Okay.
Hmm.
So rhythm game. So we got Dance Dance Revolution.
Let's put a
How
fighting game.
about
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
of course Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Of course.
Yeah, that
Let's
would
not
be a
forget
good
about that. Okay.
good
So
battle
we got
game.
Tekken Tag and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. John Phillips says Call of Duty. So we're gonna include first-person
Oh.
shooters.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
we're gonna include Call of Duty, but not black.
Okay.
Oh.
So we'll include Call of Duty. Viraj says Jack and Daxter. So we need something for the kids. So you
Yeah.
said Jack and Daxter. What else can we add in there? We already got 15 games here, so we
I
still
know,
have
I
room
know
for
you
five
have
more
one
Doom.
for kids.
How about Doom? Doom, please Doom.
Oh, I thought that
for the.
was for kids.
Oh, I'm
Nah,
sorry.
that's not for PS2. Okay, so other genres. Oh, we need something for the horror fans. What can we add in there?
Resident Evil 4 has to be on, surely.
Yeah,
Resident
Resident
Evil 4,
Evil. I know
Evil
who's the
4. How
Or
master of
Code
that.
Veronica.
Silent Hill.
Veronica. Okay, that's okay. So we'll include Veronica and and Resident Evil 4. Any of the Silent Hills?
Yeah,
Um,
take your pick.
2 or
any
3.
sign, two or three are.
Take your pick
Okay.
in it.
Let's go for two.
Because out of
Silent
all
Hill
of the
2.
horror games, of course, Resident Evil has to be there.
Yes,
Okay.
you know.
So we got something for the horror fans, racing fans, rhythm for the rhythm fans, RPG
RPG,
fans, first-person
beat 'em
shooter
up,
fans, beat 'em ups,
fighting,
fighting games. What else can we add in there?
arcade,
Oh, how about for the shooters?
shooters.
What can we include in there?
I can't think of any. I
Shooters.
can't think of any shooters that I really enjoyed on the PS1. To be
I'm
honest,
not.
The PS2. I mean,
sorry
Yeah.
PS2. Sorry PS2.
And I
You
will
know,
suggest
I would. Yeah, I was thinking.
is there any?
Do you think any?
Oh,
Do you
Kingdom
think Halo
Hearts.
would be there? Do you think Halo would be there? Or
Halo's
it's
for the
only
Xbox
available?
though.
oh,
Halo's
Oh,
for
it's
the
only.
Xbox.
Oh,
shooter
okay.
game
I
for
Xbox
thought.
the
Mini. If
PS2.
you're gonna do an
two,
Xbox Mini, sure.
two games
I
that
thought it was.
I don't think are very mainstream popular, but I think
Yeah.
are in the for me in the top 10 games of all time, and that is the Warriors beat 'em up and Deus Ex. I think Deus Ex is
You
off the
mean
scale.
the Dynasty Warriors?
No, the Warriors. So based on the 1970s film,
Ah, right.
yeah,
Okay.
and
That
Deus Ex, which
Deus
is
Ex.
the prequel to the Deus Ex Human Revolution, which came out some years later.
Okay, so what else can we add in there? We still have two slots more. We're
I
aiming
can't
for
remember.
20.
Kingdom
This
Hearts.
guy here, one for you, Joe.
Ki-
This
Tactics
guy?
game. This guy here.
This
Tactics.
guy?
Hour of Darkness.
Yeah, really?
Hey, great
Never heard of.
game.
For a PS2
Never heard.
classic? Really?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Really?
This guy.
Wait there. Wait. Give me a second.
Really?
1 second. Let me get it.
Let me see. Okay, so
How about?
I heard
what else
Goku
can we
How
add
Dream
in
about?
in
there?
PS2.
Eileen says
How
Toy
about
Story
King?
3.
Toy Story
Oh,
3.
Yakuza.
Those are good.
How about we include Yakuza for Sir Joel? Sir Joel
Oh,
likes the Yakuza series, so
Ah,
let's do
there,
Yakuza out
Yakuza.
there. Oh,
hello.
Outrun
Yeah.
2.
Now
Okay,
said
so
he wants to include
we
Out
can
of
Kingdom
we
two,
Hearts.
okay. Oh,
course.
there you go.
This.
I got this Gaia though. I got this Gaia games, but I for the PS2 Classic, really?
Yeah, man. You got to
Okay,
have it a bit varied.
okay. If we're going to include something for for the strategy RPGs, really this Gaia? Anything else?
Yeah. I would,
How about King?
Wait,
Okay,
How about
fine.
how
Joe,
about
Joe, it's
how
a
about
it's an
Kingdom
RPG
Hearts?
game. Why you don't like it? Seriously?
No, I mean there are other strategy RPGs for the PS2,
The
but
heck?
this Gaia really?
Well,
Okay,
there is
fine. I
Final
mean,
Fantasy.
for the cultural for the cultural aspects of it, there are a lot of people who enjoy this guy for what it is. Sure. Why not? We'll put it on the we'll put it on the hidden games list.
hidden games list.
How about
Oh,
Sir Dan is showing us
It's
Okami.
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 Hmm,
Okami. Oh yeah, I
Okami.
know
Oh,
that game. It's a
Classic.
pretty
You've
good
got to have
game.
that. You've got to have your coming out.
This game's actually pretty cool. Okami.
Yeah.
Okay, so our PS2 Classic is clocking at over 1 terabyte now. So this is basically a PS5.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And too bad we haven't even
Yeah.
mentioned some of the classics that PlayStation has, and far as I know, it cannot be PlayStation without Crash.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot.
Oh, you know
Oh,
what?
yeah,
It's a
Crash.
so I know Crash, and it's not even included in the PS1 Classic. So what the hell?
Oh,
Okay, so
really?
we're
Ah,
done with the PS2 Classic, right? Up until this point, guys, we're just speculating. How about if we do Dreamcast? So what games do we want on the Dreamcast Mini? So we're Sega right now, right?
so
We're gonna ignore the Saturn fanboys, the Saturn fangirls. We'll do Dreamcast instead. So we're Sega right now. What do we want to include on the Sega Dreamcast Mini? Sir Dan,
Power
go.
Stone.
Power Stone, of course. One and two. Survey. Dreamcast.
Veronica. RE
Veronica,
Veronica.
all right. Of course. Miss Honoka, Dreamcast game.
Soul
Go.
Calibur. Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, all right. Sir Pao.
Marvel versus Capcom 2 again.
Again, okay. Mine would be Skies of Arcadia, of course.
Oh, yes.
Sir Dan, back to you.
I was just about to say Skies of Arcadia. I'd probably go Marvel versus Capcom 2.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. What else?
Ikaruga.
Sonic.
Ikaruga. Without
Ikaruga, shooters, for the shooters, Ikaruga. There you go.
Man, you need Ikaruga.
What else can we add in there?
Sonic Adventures 1 and 2.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I
Sonic
knew it.
Adventures 1 and 2, of course.
And thanks for suggesting Mirage
Um,
Crazy Taxi.
Sir JDM mentioned Seaman. Sir
Seaman?
Joel would love
What's
that.
that?
Seaman.
Oh.
Never heard of that.
Seaman.
Never heard of that game.
What? Check it out. It's weird. Uh, John Phillips says Street Fighter Third Strike. We need a Street Fighter there somewhere.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Third Strike's brilliant. Yeah, Third
Yeah,
Strike.
Third Strike. How about for
yeah.
the racing games? Any good racing games for the
Crazy Taxi.
Dreamcast?
Crazy Taxi, mate.
Crazy Taxi, of course. Put it. Okay, lay it down there. How about Ready to Rumble?
Ready to Rumble?
Sega
The boxing
Rally,
game.
Sergio.
Sega Rally. Of
Sega
course.
Rally.
Let's put Sega Rally in there. How about what else?
Mirage just
Space
mentioned a
Channel
few.
5? Space Channel
What?
9?
Yeah, of course. Space Channel 9, of course.
What else can
That'd
we
be
add
good.
in there?
Is
Um,
Soul Calibur
Bioshock.
1's on
Biohazard.
Dreamcast, isn't it? Yeah, so
what
how-
else can we add in there? Miss Eileen would like this House of the Dead. We need
Oh,
something for the
yeah.
horror
Of
fan.
course, of
Oh
course.
god,
Oh.
that's good.
But how can you play that on a mini? You can't have the gun unless
Oh,
it
yeah,
comes
that's
with
a
the gun.
That's the thing. They
You
could,
really
they
have
could
That's
have
done.
done on
That's the
80s.
bad thing about classic. Ito Sergio, regarding to that. PS1 Classic release with no definite accessories, right?
That's true.
And
I mean,
for
you can
example,
include time crisis. God damn it! It's
Ah.
one of the established first railgun games for the PS1, but it's not even included in there because we don't have the gun.
for example, just like yan, if you're going to have a DDR or Dance Revolution or PS1 Classic, how can you play the DDR game if you
With the
have no
buttons?
concept?
Ooh,
So
just-
there's no relevance. So if Sega or Nintendo or PlayStation would produce some retro consoles like in the mini type, the accessories should be
Considered.
also be in perspective. Kumbaga, kasama rin dapat. Yeah.
Viraj mentioned it can be done, but it just needs
Mm.
extra. Well,
Ah.
if you guys, if Sir Dan can afford the Tower of Power, if Viraj can afford the Tower of Power, you
Yeah.
guys can afford buying the
Yeah.
gun, right?
Let's
So
go
what
on
else
to
can we
the
add
one.
on the? All right. So what else can we do? Okay, we're Nintendo right now. Okay, so we've done this. We are successful with the NES and the SNES. Screw the game. Screw the N64. Nobody likes the N64 anyway.
Yeah.
How about we do game two?
No. Wow.
we would be here all day trying to find good games for the N64, mate, without a
Oh,
doubt.
True.
N64
Yeah.
only has Super Mario and GoldenEye. Let's be
Boom.
honest.
Let's
Yeah.
well
Let's
said.
Okay,
be
fine.
Golden
honest.
Within my
Idol
So
home
let's
run
seven.
just
before.
let's do GameCube. If we're going to do a GameCube Mini, what games do we want in there? The GameCube games has what 1.2 gig of games, so you can add a little bit more in there. So GameCube games. So what do we include in there, Sir Dan?
I've got to be honest with you, mate. I'm not really. I've played a GameCube about 3 times in my life, so I gave up on Nintendo after the N64. I'm not there. What are they playing at? And I've played it, but I couldn't. I'm trying to think.
Okay, Sergio,
Resident
someone's
Evil.
That,
I've played on
comment
it.
for you.
oh, Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, 80,
Oh, good.
80 with a passion. One of my most
Yeah, sure.
disappointing games. I got that.
N64.
I got that for Christmas Day, either 98 or 99, and Ocarina of Time, and I got all my family stuff done in the morning, put it out of the way. All right, right. I'm gonna sit down and lose myself in this very highly hyped, amazing game, and I had the most miserable day. I bored out my head. Couldn't stand it. Absolutely couldn't stand it. So I swapped it a week later.
Let's
So
just put in this way, Sergio. We're going to put A-list games on the GameCube. What will it be? Like list of 10. The most popular
only
games on
10.
the GameCube.
So there's only 10. So so this is how popular the GameCube, guys.
Ah,
We can only list
Yeah.
10.
okay.
Yeah, I would
So
For
we are
imagine.
example, yeah.
if our yardstick, Sir Dan, says he doesn't he only played GameCube like 3 times,
Yeah.
that shows you how popular the GameCube is. Even Sir Dan even doesn't even want to play that much. Uh,
Yeah.
well, anyways, thank you, Sir Ray, for leading us for this evening. We're almost out of time, so we'll just do our shameless plug. So, Sir Dan, where can they find you?
Come to us on Facebook at the Sega Genesis group and say hello, and obviously check out all the Pinoy retro gaming stuff on all their various formats and stations and whatnot.
All right. Thank you, Sir Dan. How about Miss Honoka? Where can they find you?
You can
And
actually
closing
find me.
remarks.
You can actually find me, guys, on Honoko 99 Gaming Studio, both Facebook and Twitch, and do also follow Pino Retro Gaming for more exclusive retro awesome games. Though, do please do give them a follow. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Miss Honoka. Sir Pao, closing remarks and where can they find you?
Hmm, closing remarks.
In regarding
Well,
with the episode.
oh yeah. So in whether it's the miniaturized consoles or the original, what really matters in here is the experience, is the nostalgia that we feel where we reminisce our childhood when we play these games. Th- Again, it's Serpao24 on Twitch, Serpao Gaming Channel on YouTube, Serpao on Facebook. And I'm sorry for being late. It's been a way long travel from Wakanda. Just kidding.
From Wanda.
Kanda.
Oh, we forgot. Sir Dan, closing remarks in regarding with the episode.
Closing remarks is buy a Sega Genesis Mini 2 and your life will be improved a million times for it.
And this show, guys, was brought to you by the Sega Drive to me. Sega, Buchanan. And our wonderful pilot, for our pilot wings for this episode, Sir Ray. Your closing remarks and your ASL.
So, ayan. Thank you so much, Sir Dan, Honoka, Pao, and Sir Joe for being the panel of this episode. So, yan nga, Sir Dan, I would love to buy the Sega Mini Drive 2 for the collection purposes. So, I'm just waiting for Data Blitz if they're going to release it. Anyway, anyway,
Is
for
it going
those
to release it?
on the live, maybe or just maybe naglalako lang tayo. I'm selling shirts right now for the upcoming December 3 and 4 Retro Gamers Collections event this coming December 3 on QC Mall. Baka gusto nyong mag-umorder, 300 pesos. Yan. There are I have some specific designs na it's all about Resident Evil. So if you want, you can just me or PM my page. So this is Retrofit Gaming. Maraming salamat and hope to see you guys on my next on my streams. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that survey. And as survey mentioned, the Retro Gamers Collectors of the Philippines (RGCP) will be having their year end convention at the what mall is that again?
QC
Survey.
Mall on
The
Quiapa
QC
in Manila.
Mall in Recto, Manila, coming December 3 and 4. And I don't think that Timeless Gamer Crew will have an episode during the first week of December because some of us will be going to that event. Of course, Pinoy Retro Gaming, our parent company, will be there to do some meet and greet, and they will also be holding some video game tournaments and some other not parlor games, but they're going to offer some raffles as well. I think they will be on the RGCP event on December 3 and 4 at the QC Mall. So to all of you guys who are enthusiasts of retro video game consoles and games collectors or just casual gamers, be sure to go to that event. If you want to know more about the details of that event, just go to the Pinoy PRG or the Retro Gamers and Collector of the Philippines (RGCP) Facebook page. If you want to know more about that particular event. And for our December show, I believe Sir Carlo will be the one leading the charge for that particular event, or at least he's going to suggest the topic for our December, and it will be on December 11th. On the December 11th day, if I remember correctly, and then that will be followed by Sir Joel on December 20th. I think his topic is all about the games that made us rage quit. And after Sir Joel's episode, there will be no shows for the last week of December. All of us will be taking the Christmas break. We'll be back on January with Miss Eileen's topic, which is to be announced. And yep, so for all of our archive shows from before, you can still catch those by going to the Pinoy Retro Gaming Facebook page or by going to the YouTube page of Timeless Gamer. Just search in Timeless Gamer PRG, and you will see all of our previous episodes all archived in that channel. And if you just want to listen to us talk, our audio podcast is also available by going to Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iTunes, and Spotify. And on behalf of Sir Carlo, Sir Siebert, and Sir Joel, who can't be here in the show, I would like to thank Sir Dan, Sir Ray, Miss Honoka, Sir Pao. Oh, Miss Eileen is not here for today's episode as well because she's preparing for her job for tomorrow. And thank you all guys so much who stayed with us from start to finish. To the chat tat down there, thank you all so much. And as always, our games and bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless.
timeless. Bye
Thank
bye,
you,
guys.
guys.
Ta-ra, boys.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye night. Good night, guys.
Wakanda forever.
On the brava.